What's up, crew? Welcome to Millionaire Case Study. This is episode 53. Yo, I'm glad you're here. Just wanted to pop in really quick. This should be super short. Just updating what I've been up to the last few days. So, I just came off of something that was a ton of fun. Got back from San Diego, California, and I was attending two events that I kind of just went back and forth on. Didn't really stay and stick to one particular event, but those two events, were Brendon Burchard's event, High Performance Academy, and then this was my first year at Traffic and Conversion. Now, as you can see, this cough is still here. I don't know where it's coming from. I've got to get rid of it, though. Especially as I get into more speaking. It is not going to work to have this cough on stages. But anyway, yeah. Where did it come in from, or what have I been up to? Those two events, Brendon Burchard's and Traffic and Conversion, was the second one. And I think it's important to highlight events in general, and that's really what I wanted to do on episode 53 here, because events is where I feel like was where I really got into the game of entrepreneurship or starting my business, and most importantly, getting the connections that help me get to the next step, whatever that is. It's where I feel like the action actually happens. And over these last few days, I had a ton of fun just meeting new people outside of the content, outside of the ballroom, and sharing what's happening, or the skills that you need to have for what's coming up next. It was making those human connections that was most valuable. It was going to the parties, the parties after hours or after the event, that really made it a ton of fun for me these last few days in San Diego. Now, I was looking for my phone to find out what the date was. But this is being recorded on my iPhone 6, just for document purposes. What's today's date? That's what I wanted to check. Today is the 14th, just to document that. 14th March 2017. And so yeah, the events were massive. Good things came from it. Made connections with people that probably will end up doing business together. And at least see how we can support one another. Got to see some pretty, famous people. Ty Lopez, probably, if you're watching this. He's a lot more popular than I am, so chances are you know who he is, and if you don't, then you probably should check out his stuff. The thing I appreciate about Ty is he's very controversial, and a lot of people don't like him, but that's just it. Because he's controversial, he takes opinions on something, he takes a side, and it just makes the ones that do like him and like his style, just stick to him. And he has a huge following, so you have to respect it. Love him or hate him, you have to respect him. So it was cool to see him and kind of hang out with him a little bit at one of the parties. And one of the other things that happened that I think is worth at least documenting, that happened at the party, kind of call it a positive or a negative. For me, it's a massive positive, and that is this. As I've been on this entrepreneurial journey, and as you go on your journey, one of the things that hold us back from even starting is fear. Fear of failure, fear that maybe our family, our friends will think of us differently. They might be like, what are you doing? But what you'll notice is you actually have a ton of support of people that want to help you along the way. But you also will get a little bit of negativity from maybe a family member or a friend. when you get started. Like, I remember, what was it? Probably 2 years ago. Not quite 2 years ago. About a year and a half ago. I was at a summer party. This was after I had quit my day job, was doing the door-to-door thing, and was now starting to pump out videos and content and put myself out there on social media. And I remember going to a summer party and having a couple friends say, dude, what are you doing? Please, do us all a favor. Slow down. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing us. Like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove? You're kind of making yourself look a little bit more badass than we know you really are. So pump the brake a little bit. Like, or please just stop, because, yeah. And I had a little bit of that. And I remember at the time thinking, holy shit, yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't know what the F I'm doing. I'm getting into this game, and this was almost validation of, yeah, what I've been thinking, that voice in my head of like, Calvin, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You don't know how to create videos or to talk about certain things. So maybe this is a hint that you should stop. But then there was a couple thoughts that I think rescued me and saved me to keep on moving. Two main thoughts. The first thought is this: the person who's giving me advice, or what I'm hearing, or whatever they're telling me, actually, here's the first thing. Are they on the court, or are they on the sidelines? That's the first question I ask. And I think of the quote, the long paragraph by President Theodore Roosevelt, who says, it's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, right? And the quote goes on, I memorized it a while back because I loved it so much. The credit belongs to the man whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But to those who actually strive to do the deeds, those who know great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spend themselves in a worthy cause, who at best know in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. That's the first thing that got me through that, is realizing essentially it's the ones who are in the game that count. Like, their opinion counts. Don't be in the game, this is what I told myself, don't be in the game on the court trying to make things happen as sloppy as it is and listening to people that are just on the fucking sideline pointing fingers and like, you should do it this way or you're not doing it good enough, stuff like that. If they're not in the game, then they have no room, and you have no business, is what I told myself, to listen to it. So, don't take advice from people that are just a critic, that aren't going after it too. That was the first thing. And the second thing was asking myself, whoever the person is that's giving me advice, and that is, would I trade places with them in this particular area they're talking to me about? Would I trade places? And that makes it so easy whether I should listen to it or not. Because if it's somebody that's telling me to slow down and they've never done anything in terms of putting themselves out there, I'm not going to trade places with that. Now, if it was Warren Buffett telling me to slow down or do something different the way I was investing, I'd listen to that. You betcha. If it was Tony Robbins telling me that I needed to have more fulfillment in my life, yeah, I'd listen to that. Or how to put on a good event, I'd listen to that. If it was Gary Vaynerchuk telling me that I need to fucking hustle more, I'd listen to that. And I just think that's so, so important. Now, all of this, I bring this up is, again, I notice that as I'm on the journey, one or two of these people will pop up, and I think the more I get out there, the more I put myself out there, more people are going to voice that. I'm going to have more haters, and I need to learn to love it. But the challenge is, this is where it gets sticky, and that is, if you know the hater, or if you know the person that is telling you to pump the brakes, or to, who do you think you are? And over this last few days at this event, I actually had one of those conversations of a good friend of mine. But the conversation, probably even in good faith, here's the thing that really sucks, is when it's somebody that cares and they're helping you. But the conversation was pretty much like this. We talked about what I'm charging for certain things, and the conversation was basically, who the fuck do you think you are to charge that? Like, you haven't done enough. Or what other results do you have? Like, you can't be doing this. Like, who do you think you are? Yeah, slow down, bro. And I feel lucky to have that conversation, because what it did is it just turned my fire back on, to be able to feel in myself and look in the mirror and say, I mean, we all have these negative thoughts where we're wondering, like, am I good enough? Can I do it? Shit, maybe I do need to slow down. Maybe I'm not deserving. We all have this. But what I love is some things in me was developed over this last little bit, over the last few months, going after it. And I know the fucking work I've put in. So it triggered something in me where I could just look directly into the person, directly, even to myself in the mirror, and say, when I'm having these negative thoughts, and say, bullshit. I quit my day job 2 years ago before I knew what I had lined up. And I had a wife and a 1-year-old, and I moved 2 states over to Southern California, to a place I've never even been to, and I did door-to-door sales every single day, whether I hated it or not. Fuck yeah, I've taken action. Over this last year, I accomplished 12 major goals that were New Year's resolutions that were like 10 years worth of goals in a single year. I've written a book. I've been in Entrepreneur Magazine. I've written in Huffington Post, Social Media Examiner. I've keynoted a 3-day event in front of 2,200 people. I've become debt-free. I ran 50 miles. I've taken action even though I've been scared out of my fucking mind. So yeah. Show me somebody else that's just fucking taking action and going after it. Yeah, the results aren't going to come right away. They don't. The results always lag. But show me one person taking a shitload of action, and I'll show you 99 that are just reading about it, watching videos about it, and wishing. So yeah, that lit up something in me, and I'm glad. Because what I realized is, as you stick your head up more and you get out in the forefront, you're going to have people, and here's probably where it will come from more, is people that know you, especially when you're growing and you're on a different level, and all they have is memories of you. And so they're like, oh, that's somebody where in school he was like an asshole, or I saw him in this business mastermind. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And now he's on stage thinking he can talk about this, or charging that. Like, that's bullshit. Fuck no. When you're taking action, when you're in the game, this is what I've come to realize. And you watching this, if you're going after it, I'll offer it to you too. You're going to have haters. You're going to have the voice in your head. And you're going to have somebody else come and make that voice and basically be the devil in your ear, and it's going to be a real person. Ask yourself, are they in the arena, or are they just on the sidelines? Number 2, would you trade places with that person on that particular area? The answer is no to either of those. Put the blinders on and keep on fucking moving. So that's what I've realized, and that's such a gift over the last few days. Again, events are awesome. That's where magic happens. Especially as you're new, and especially as you're just getting around whatever field you're getting into, anything entrepreneurial or otherwise. So I'm pumped for it, and if you're watching this and you've never been to an event and you're trying to get into the game of entrepreneurship, I couldn't recommend it enough. So I'm going to actually end it on that, because speaking of events, I'm traveling to Salt Lake City, my hometown, leaving a little bit later today, actually, soon, probably within the hour, to go to an event. It's called Utah EntreCon or something like that. Gary Vaynerchuk's the keynote, and I'm super pumped for this because it's going to be my first ever in-field Millionaire case study episode. So episode 54, the next one coming up, is not just going to be this. It's not going to be me talking about what I did. It's for the first time you're actually going to see it as it's happening, and all of future episodes won't necessarily have that, but I can't wait to do more of it. I want to do way more where you're actually seeing it, because the whole purpose of Millionaire Case Study is to show the journey of somebody doing it as it's happening before they did it, and so you can watch the process. And as close as I can get to the action so that you can see it, so that can be documented, that's what I'm going to do. So super pumped for episode 54. Make sure you check it out if you're seeing this right now and you haven't watched episode 54 yet. First infield, just in the arena, taking action. So super pumped for you to see it. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm Calvin Wayman, your Millionaire Case Study, and I will see you on the next Millionaire Case Study episode. Peace out.